Throughout the continental United States, there is a gathering of our automotive history. Most of you will not get to see or experience these icons of our youth, but I will, and I want to take you along with me on this wonderful journey. This is your time to connect with your automotive past. These vehicles and people are real. Many people have experienced a love affair with cars, the same as I have, and that's what this series is all about. We will also feature cars at a Wednesday night cruise. For the last 5 years, we have been collecting the video necessary to bring you some of the most beautiful classic, custom, and antique automobiles we can find. People have been the center point of the series because whenever you talk about restored cars, you must put a face of a human being with it. Therefore, we have attempted to, and I believe succeeded, in presenting in this classic car series. Stories of these unique and beautiful cars are preserving a precious part of our automotive history.
We'll be right back.
And on today's show, today we're going to take a look at a 1953 Pontiac Chieftain. Red convertible with all the toys. On our On the Road segment, we'll also go to New Hampshire and take a look at early Fords that were refurbished by an expert. You'll see. And to top out our show, we're going to speak to a man named Gavin Rotolo. He owns a 1940 Ford Woody. One of a few, but it is absolutely spectacular. We're looking forward to this one.
And we'll be right back.
California, here I come. Right back.
1953 was a good year. Desi and Lucy, along with Ethel and Fred, moved their show I Love Lucy to Los Angeles.
And so be they. That's why I can contemplate. Open and go the gate, California, here I come. Sing it, Fred. California.
1953 saw the growth of the buy now, pay later mentality, with car makers leading the way by allowing longer and longer periods to pay for your new car. Queen Elizabeth II, crowned Queen of England. The unions gained strength with more and more workers belonging to unions. With wage and price controls ended and unemployment rate at 2.9%, the increase in standard of living continued to grow and appeared to have no boundaries. A teacher's average salary was $4,254 and a pound of ground steak was 90 cents. The first color television sets appeared, selling for $1,175. By the end of the 1952 model year, Pontiac dealers were out of cars and there were a lot of orders for 1953 models. The Chieftain received a thorough facelift, including the iconic dual streak trim that ran the length of the hood and the trunk. An enhanced interior and optional power steering were other benchmarks for the year. The 1953 Pontiac was all new on a 2-inch longer wheelbase with a new grille, modest fins, a flatter deck lid that increased trunk capacity, and side chrome trim extended into the front door with a second lower strip sweeping to the tail lamps. It also had a new front suspension, a one-piece windshield, and ignition key starting. Its straight 6 engine upgraded with aluminum pistons, a new crankshaft, and a 2-barrel carburetor cranked out 118 horsepower with the available Hydromatic. Its new instrument panel, a major improvement over previous models, housed the heater, defroster, and radio controls in a comprehensive arrangement instead of the haphazard add-ons in many other cars of the time. This beautiful red 1953 Pontiac convertible has a special place in our collector's museum. It's a premium example of what a customer would see on the showroom floor of a Pontiac dealership in any town, USA.
Premium beat. And we'll be right back.
On this show, we'll meet a man who restores antique Fords to absolute perfection. Let's you and I take a step back in time and experience Cruise Night with Classics. Sometime when you're looking for segments, you really don't know where you're going to find them. You might think that some of the best segments or pieces that you want to fill your program would be located in large cities. Big museums, things of that nature. Well, the best stuff is in the countryside. We're in New Hampshire. I'm not sure of exactly where we are in New Hampshire. We've been driving for a while, but we came across, we had this lead to come and see a gentleman named Ladd. That's his first name. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Ladd Eaton. Ladd Eaton. And Ladd, do you mind telling us where we are?
We're in Melvin Village, New Hampshire, which is part of Tuftonboro on Lake Winnipesaukee.
What is it that you specialize in? And I think we're sitting amongst them, but I just want you to tell me what do you specialize in?
Well, I prefer to do early Fords if possible, preferably 1928 through Model A, and they're referred to as Model A's. But I'll go earlier into the T's and later up into the late 40s, but preferably Fords. I like to take Model A Fords and older cars that have been off the road for many years and bring them back to life and put them back on the road for other people. So I completely disassemble them and renew every single part of the car, get them running, and deliver them back to the customers. They are very worker-friendly and simple. They're simple and they're relatively easy to find, even though there are not many around. They made over 4 million of these cars originally.
Oh, really?
Yes.
4 million. Wow. Now that was over a span of
1928 to 1931.
Okay. Now there are 4 million of these. How many do you think are left?
Oh, I would say there's probably 200,000 at least on the road still.
They're huge clubs.
All over the United States.
All over the United States. And there are all kinds of clubs. Model A, Model T. 1930, I decided I'm going to go down and I want to find one of those. Would it be sitting in a showroom looking like that, or would it be in a showroom?
Absolutely, they did have showrooms for these cars.
Okay, so we're in a showroom. Would it look like that?
Yes, that's restored to its original condition with the original color as it came from the showroom.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, the shine on the fenders, the paint job. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. You wonder. When somebody walked into that showroom, could this have been their first car, first family car? Or would they be coming straight out of the buckboard into this thing?
They probably would have gone to a Model T first.
Okay.
Came out in the early teens.
Okay.
And in 1928, Ford made a major upgrade to the automobile to be maintain itself competitively with others. So this would have been probably the next car that they went into after that.
Okay, so this was an upgrade. This
Yes.
is okay. We're tired of being cold in the wintertime with the wind blowing through the car, and we need something with windows that go up and down, and might even have had a heater. Does this have a heater on it?
Yes, it does.
Wow, this is big time. We're also sitting in front of another car. This is another one of yours.
Yes.
Now, what is it?
It's a 1930 Model A Deluxe Roadster with a rumble seat.
Color correct and
Yes,
everything?
it's Washington blue.
Okay, this is how it would have sat in the show?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, now again, I've got to ask these questions because I really don't know. Were these ordered out by the dealer? I mean, they were dealers? They had showrooms? Did the dealer sit there and say, I want a green one, black fenders? Did he order them out? I mean, how did that work? Or did Henry Ford just make them and say, I got this one, this one, this one for sale, you want to buy it?
I think the size of the dealership probably determined the number and types of body styles that they would get. I'm sure that they could order. A lot of the cars probably came through based upon available inventories that Ford had, and they might make upgrades to them when they got to the dealer.
Okay.
Such as add-on cowl lights or white wall tires or additional spares or things like that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that dealer option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the car would come in sometimes, maybe bare bones, and as the person bought it, they'd say, hey, do you want a steering wheel?
A little bit more than that.
How about the tires? You want tires on this thing?
The original Model Ts, when they were shipped to dealers, were shipped without fenders. The fenders came along afterwards, and the dealers installed the fenders on the Model T.
Really?
Yes.
What, so that they wouldn't get beat up or anything?
Probably easier to transport, less
Yeah.
chance of
Less
damaging the
flow.
fenders. Yeah. This is a daily driver in the summer months. It's great for backcountry dirt roads. Model A's are really designed for backcountry dirt roads.
You were telling me something earlier that I thought was really interesting about the tires on these things in snow and how well they do in snow and on dirt roads. So I'd like you to cover that a little bit more or cover it again.
Okay. Model A Fords came with 40 horsepower from the factory, which was not a lot of horsepower.
Right.
So therefore, you didn't have to worry about spinning tires. Plus, they were always a very tall, skinny tire as well, which goes through the snow much more easily, tends not to get stuck in dirt. And they just perform well because of the gear ratios and the power and the clearances.
Okay. Yes. Now, looking at a blue one over here. What's the word on that one?
That's a 28 Model A Roadster, which is two-tone blue. It also has black fenders, and if you notice, all of the Model A Fords came from the factory with black fenders.
Right.
Body styles did have varying colors, which started in 1928. Prior to that, they were always any color you wanted as long as it was black. Right. Ford in 1928 started revolving to colors because people had different choices and wanted style.
Well, you just told me something I didn't know, which is not hard to do, by the way, but I didn't know that all of the Fords came with black fenders. You could have the body a different color, but not the fenders.
That's correct.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So that explains a lot. Okay. But I have a question for you that I've always wondered about this. So the gas is right there.
Yes.
Okay, now that's right at the dash.
That is the dash.
That is the dash.
Wow.
Yeah. Has there ever been any problems with that, with fire or anything? Because there's electrical under there and everything.
I'm sure there were. We don't hear about them, but
No.
I'm sure it was a safety issue.
Yeah.
In 1932, they moved the gas tank to the back of the car.
What was it? One guy was saying that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but he was telling me that he had to drive up a hill. And because of it being gravity feed, he had to back up this hill.
Very common with the Model T Ford because the gas tank was under the seat.
Okay.
So the relationship of the fuel to the carburetor was very similar, whereas
Okay.
the Model A was higher. So
Okay.
you didn't have that problem quite as much with the Model A.
Okay, so now you also do engines. If someone brought you a Model A, Model T engine, you take it apart, put it back together.
I do.
All those parts are available, right?
Yes, they are.
I mean, available. You don't have to go to junkyards to find a head or
There-
gaskets or...
You can't go to a local parts store like a Napa or something like that.
I just said a dumb thing. Go to a junkyard.
They call them salvage yards now.
I don't think you could find a junkyard with one of these things in it, or salvage yard.
Yeah.
They've all been bought and they're gone. They're out of there.
Right.
But boy, I just showed my age, didn't I?
There are companies that specialize in making all these parts.
And we'll be right back.
Now for a little bonus. How did you find this car?
Well, originally I had another 41 Chevrolet back probably 15, 16 years ago, and restored that and sold it, and then went through a series of 55, 6, 7 Chevrolets, but I wanted another 41 Chevy. So I set my search in Hemmings Motor News. Couldn't find one in Maine that I wanted, or in New England. And I wanted a coupe. My first one was a two-door sedan like this one. Called a fella in Hemmings Motor News down in Fresh Meadows, New York, I think it was. And he had a coupe for sale. And he said that he had just sold the coupe that day, took a deposit on it. Sounded like just the right one. But just before he hung up, he said, "But I have a two-door sedan in the garage. I will sell it if you're interested." And so I said, "Well, could you please send me some pictures?" And he did, and went through the photographs, and I could see that it was a very nice original car. So I made him an offer, and had a trucker pick it up for me in New York, and bought it sight unseen, wrote him the pictures, and got it up to Maine, and was extremely happy. It was everything he said it was. I drive it every weekend, keep it in the garage with a car cover over it, but it's out in the weekend, put maybe 800 to 1,000 miles a year on it in the summertime. So it gets driven, and I think they should be driven.
So when you got it, you bring it back, you take a, what are your plans for this car now?
Well,
I mean, I don't know what you could do to it.
Well, it did need a lot. I got it all sorted out over the next couple of years. It runs just beautifully. You can drive the automobile 65 miles an hour without a vibration. So everything has been gone through.
So what are your plans for it?
Well, as they say, it's my keeper. I've had this one about 12 years, and I've had 4 or 5 others in the meantime.
We want to thank you for preserving a piece of the American automotive history, because that is a piece of our history. Okay, again, thank you very much, my friend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Let's wrap this puppy up with a little bit of commentary. How do I really feel? I have to be one of the luckiest guys in the world. I sit down with them in a garage in New Hampshire in the fall of the year and talk about Henry Ford and his Model Ts and get a second look at a magnificent 41 Chevrolet. They share with me their cars' histories. If it gets much better than this, well, I'll just have to keep going. Somebody's got to do it. It might as well be me.
And we'll be right back.
We invite you to Motorland in Arundel, Maine, and the Maine Classic Car Museum. On behalf of Miles, Tom, Tim, Phil, and Brandon, we would like to thank you for watching our show. Our web address is motorlandtvnetwork.com. See you next week.